Hi guys, it's Kelly here, back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. You may notice, hopefully it gets better the more that I talk and not worse. I think I have laryngitis, or the beginning of it. I don't know, the only symptom I have is that my voice is going. But anyway, I am doing like 4 different cards here, using a couple of different things. We're going to use a stamp set, we're going to use some dies, we're going to use a 3D embossing folder, and we are going to use a cover plate. They are all snowflakes. You will notice that all of the cards look the same. That is the point, because I wanted to show you different ways that you could get that 3-dimensional texture if you don't have a 3D embossing folder. So what better way to do that than to show you with the embossing folder, and then the other ways that maybe you can create some dimension or some texture. So for all of them, this is a half a sheet of paper. I'm just going in and creating kind of a softer background using some blues, pinks, purples, teals, and just kind of like building up from there. I really did like kind of the softer look that it created, but I was here to do something else. But I do think I'm going to have to come back to that more pastel look because I think it's really pretty. So anyway, I used the blending brushes for this, which are a little bit softer. I think this, like, we have the Salvage Patina and the Salty Ocean and some Mermaid Lagoon. Like, this is the makings of a really, really pretty, like, sky background. But we're going to add some pinks and purples, and this is the Blueprint Sketch, which is a more traditional blue. You guys know blue is my boyfriend. So anyway, let's talk Black Friday, which is today. It's finally here. We've been doing early Black Friday sales. I've been sharing, those sales over on my craft deals page. Today is Honeybee's first day. Like, they don't do early sales. They start on Black Friday, but they are also going to have sales for Small Business Saturday and then Cyber Monday. So today's deal is 25% off your entire purchase. So they list them. It's not a secret. Like, they tell you, so that way you can figure out which one works best for you. Today, Fridays is 25% off. Saturdays, the Small Business Saturday is dollar deals. So on all retiring and clearance products, they'll have $1, $3, $5, $7, $9 deals. And then Cyber Monday is buy one, get one, 50% off all dies, which is a great deal. Let's talk about what we're doing in the card in the background. So here, I love the shimmer and I love the shine. And so because I'm using distressings, I'm able to use just clean water and get some texture into the background. But then I'm also going to add some water into some Perfect Pearls in the color Perfect Pearl, so it's just white, and I'm going to spatter that onto the background. Like I said, by the time we're done, we're going to end up with 4 cards that look pretty similar, but there is a reason for that. Like, I wanted to show how you could do, start with different products, but end up with very similar results. So I ended up, I think, doing a sheet and a half of this background. And so for this one, this is the Snowflakes cover plate. So I'm going to put that down to cut out one. Then this is the Snowflakes, the 3D embossing folder. I love this one. It's one of my favorites. And then I'm going to tape that shut. And then for this one, I'm going to start cutting out some snowflakes. So this is the largest, the large snowflakes, lovely layers. And then the other one is the layering snowflakes, which is a lot smaller. I personally just feel like whether you're doing winter cards, Christmas cards, thank you cards, like these are just good staple ones to have. That's how I ended up choosing it. So here I got all the large ones down, and then I just trimmed them off so that way I could come in with these smaller ones. I've had these for years and I've never cut them apart because I've never needed one single snowflake. I've always needed multiple snowflakes. So I just leave them connected and then I run them through this way so I can just cut out multiple at one time. This way is the way to use the stamps, and you do want to make sure that your inking is completely dry. So I like to hit it with the heat and then I test it with embossing powder. If it is still sticking, then I wipe off the embossing powder. I'll be honest with you, typically I do that on my pants, and then I go back and reheat it until the embossing powder is not sticking at all. Then I can come back, and I should have treated it with my anti-static tool. I didn't. That was my own fault. And thankfully it didn't end up costing me, but please make sure that you are treating it with your anti-static tool. And then I'm going to ink this up in a clear embossing ink. And then I'm going to stamp it down. And I've got all of these snowflakes. This is from the Let It Snow snowflake or the stamp set, which is also where the majority of our sentiments come from. And then once I have those down, I'm going to use clear embossing powder. You could use white for like an emboss resist, but I wanted those paler colors to kind of show through, just like you would see if you were using an embossing folder, where you would have the lower levels would not pick up as much ink as the parts that were 3D embossed. They would pick up more ink. So this is kind of the reverse of that, but still you have a lighter and then a darker, and that's what I was trying to mimic. So that's why I chose clear. It's basically going to trap these pastel colors underneath that embossing powder, and then when I go back in and add more ink on top, it's going to give me some contrast. Once again, you could absolutely do white. You could do an iridescent. You could do a pearl. That would look really pretty. A lot of looks that you could do this with. So here I'm going to go back in, and I just have a couple of little areas that need to be filled in. I was able to get the majority of it the first time around, but I just had a couple of little like corners and things like that that I needed to add some snowflakes to, and I followed the same process with the stamping, the clear embossing powder, and then I'm just going to go ahead and heat that, and that is to make sure that the pattern goes edge to edge. So now here, we're going to look at it. So the one on the bottom, this is the 3D embossing folder. I love that one. Then here is the cover plate. I also love this one. This cover plate has an additional die that you can pick up that will add a pierced detail. It doesn't cut anything out. It just adds that detail layer to it. That little pierce detail, which I think is really pretty and makes it just a little bit different. So here is that, and then we have the one that we did for the embossing. Here, these background pieces are done, and I'm just using them, the first one as a backer from the cover plate, and then this one is where I'm going to arrange my dies. And again, I want to go edge to edge, just like I did with the stamping, to mimic that 3D embossing look, but we're going to do the snowflakes on top of the background. This is the one I was talking about where I was like, I really like how pastel it is. I will probably have to circle back around to something similar, as we move throughout winter, because there's something really very pretty about the softness of this. So once I have all my dies laid out covering edge to edge, then I'm going to go ahead and glue them. I did say to myself after I spent all of the time gluing them, like, why did you not cut them out with an adhesive on the back or run them through a sticker maker? And the answer is I didn't think of it. It would have been really, really smart to do that, but I honestly didn't think of it until I was already in it. So you'll see later on when I cut out the white ones, we do put some adhesive on the back before we cut them out. So here, this is that edge to edge look. I'm going to flip them over and then trim off anything that's hanging over the edge of the card. And then that is going to create not only that three-dimensional look, but that three-dimensional feel, just like we would have with a embossing folder where that paper, sitting on top of other paper is going to give us the actual feel of it. The cover plate pretty much does the same thing. It just has that border, which I have used these in the past, like used a cover plate in the past, and then gone in and trimmed off the border to get a similar look to the one you see on the right, with just not as much work. So that is a possibility, but for this one, the frame part of it doesn't bother me at all. So those are going to be two very similar looks. The one on the right, you have a bit more control because you're kind of coming up with the design, where the one on the left has the design already done. So kind of like ease of use there. So anyway, they're doing their Black Friday sale. Here's what we're working with all four backgrounds. Obviously, the stamp one is the one that is the most different, but like I said, by the end of it, they're going to look pretty similar, all four of them. You could give them as a set if you wanted to try all four to see which one you liked the best. Or, you could look at what I've made here and been like, oh, okay, well, I like this one the best. Or this is what I have access to, already in my stash. So that's the way I'm going to go. I just hope it's helpful to kind of jumpstart your creativity on creating that 3D or that textured look. I am going to speed this up shortly. Here, I wanted to show you with the one that is specific to the 3D embossing folder. We're going to do a couple of different techniques, which I would do with the 3D embossing, except we're going to use them for all of the other ones as well. And that includes this one, which is adding a darker ink over the top of it. So we do have that raised area picking up more ink and creating this really lovely dimension in the piece. So I'm going to do the rest of them the same way. I'm just going to speed it up because we are making 4 cards here. So yeah, there's 25% off doorbuster days, and then the buy one get one 50% off the dies, so you can figure out if you are in the market, which one works for you. I do have a lot of other sales over on my deals page if you are looking to shop. By no means, obviously, if you're not, you're like, I'm tapped out, I'm not shopping for myself or for anybody else, then that obviously that doesn't affect you. That's fine. I hope that you guys had a good Thanksgiving. We did have a nice Thanksgiving. It was over at my mom's house. We typically split our Thanksgiving. So the first couple of years that we were together, we would go to Eric's parents' house first, and then we would go to my parents' house second, because we are a blended family. This one I'm going to slow it down, just because it is a little bit different. It is more of an emboss resist. That's what you're seeing here. And I like the inking is still just as fast, but I did want you to see the part for the cleaning off, you just want a slightly damp paper towel, or you can go in with a drier side baby wipe. With distressings, because they react with water, you want to make sure that it is pretty dry. Alternatively, you can go in with like a dry rag and just kind of buff the ink off of the top. But anyway, so in the beginning, because we were a blended family, like we only get Peanut for a portion of the day, because the other portion of the day he is at his dad's side of the family, and that's just unfortunate side effect of getting divorced. It just is what it is. We do have a pretty good system of working together for the most part. Like this year, his cousins on his dad's side were up from out of state. So normally I would pick him up in the evening hours, and then he would stay with me into Friday. But his dad asked him, asked if he could have him back because his cousins are in town. And I was like, yeah, do you care if I pick him up a little bit early since he's coming back to you? And he was like, no, that's fine. So thank God, thank the Lord. Like we don't have too many issues working together for like the betterment of our child. And I'm very, very grateful for that. Side note, back to the card. So here you can see the majority of the cards, they look the same. So here I'm just adding more texture with that clear water, doing those spatters, getting that those kind of droplets. And then I'm also going to do the perfect pearls again right over top of that. And then we're going to circle back around to the perfect pearls in a different way. I know it's all very exciting. But basically we're going to do just these things that are like tried and true techniques that I really love to do with 3D embossing folders. That I know that you can make work even if you don't have them. And so this one is using the brayer. This is the Brilliant White pigment ink from Honeybee. So I'm using a brayer. This one's from Tim Holtz. I want the feet side pointed up, and I'm just going to ink that up with white ink, and then I'm going to take the brayer directly to my background. All of the raised areas are going to catch the white ink, which is super pretty, and you could just leave it at this and set it aside. And so we're going to do that with all of them. The only one where I think I got any in the background really, and you can see like I turn the paper and try to go at it from a couple of different angles. That's just to make sure that I can get good coverage, because sometimes, going left or right, sometimes going diagonal will give you better coverage, and this just adds that little bit of white. From here, you could add you could do it with Versamark and add embossing powder, like the puff embossing powder or sparkle embossing powder. Here, this is the one that is the stamped version, and it's the one that got the most in the background, but it does dry back. So now here, instead of, putting embossing powder on it, because it's a pigment ink and it does stay wet for longer, I'm going to go in with some colored perfect pearls. And I think this is iris, gumball, turquoise, and blue patina. I just picked colors that match the colors I had in my background. And then I am using the fluffy brush that comes with the perfect pearl set, and I am just pouncing it on the backgrounds. And this is going to give me tons of shine. That perfect pearls is going to stick to the pigment ink that is on, or if you don't want to use pigment ink, you don't want to use a color, you can use clear, like I said. That same Versamark that we stamped in, you can use that. And so I'm just going to go through all of the different colors. I'm not trying to get, purple on the purple areas or pink on the pink areas or teal on the teal areas. I'm just being very generous with them. I'm getting lots of shine. And then once I have all of the color on there, I'm going to go in with that same brush and just kind of vigorously swipe my brush back and forth across, and that's going to get rid of any excess perfect pearls, so that it just leaves behind, the shine where it is stuck to the ink versus leaving the whole cardstock shiny. And then perfect pearls bind with moisture, so I didn't really have too much of a problem with it coming off on my hands, because I did, use a pigment ink, which is a bit stickier ink. But if you were just putting it on there and you weren't necessarily having any moisture, you would want to do a quick spritz of water, like 1 or 2 times, and then just kind of wave your panel through it. But this adds tons of shine and really sits on top of those areas, and it's so pretty for the snowflake cards. So here's the cards we're working with. I just wanted to show you, I'm going to use them as full cards, but you absolutely could cut them down, cut them in half, and mount them onto white cardstock or black cardstock or teal or whatever makes you happy, and turn him into from 4 cards to 8 cards just by doing that, just by turning them on their side and cutting them in half. Here, this is the double stick adhesive that I will be using. I'm doing a full half sheet of snowflakes, and then just an extra, these ones that are a little bit larger. So I'm going to show you how I do it. I expose a portion of the adhesive, fold that back, then I take the back of my cardstock and adhere just that one exposed part, and then I take a bone folder and kind of burnish it to the back. Then I will scoot that bone folder along the edge and push it. That way I don't have any air bubbles where the adhesive is for the cardstock. And then I cut that larger piece. This one here, I did the same thing with that larger piece, and I just applied it the same way. So now I'm just kind of pulling them off. With the adhesive backer, it doesn't always cut all the way through the adhesive backer, but it still cuts through the paper, and then I can just almost like a sticker sheet, kind of like pluck them off, and they have the adhesive behind them. So then from there, I can start working on whatever layout I'm going to be using. And I absolutely had snowflakes that were left over from this. I also used one of the new sentiments, the Merry and Bright. These are the other sentiments. This is on vellum. I'm going to treat with my anti-static tool, and then I am going to stamp it in that same brilliant white pigment ink, and then heat emboss it with a white detail embossing powder. And then cut them out with their coordinating die. The reason that I chose to do the vellum was it's pretty neutral. I ended up, because it was hard to read with everything that we had going on in the background, I ended up backing them with different colors of cardstock. So I didn't stamp and heat emboss it again. I just cut out the coordinating die of the cardstock. And I think I did a teal, a blue, and like a purple. And then I put the vellum over top of it just to make it more legible. So anywho, but this year the last 2 years, we have hosted Thanksgiving for his side of the family, and then gone to my parents' house for dessert. So this year we were going to my parents' house for dinner, and it is kind of a long haul. I totally understand it for his parents. to come out for dessert or for us to go there because we do have a little bit of space, drive time between us. So instead, I'm not a football girl. My father loves all the things football. And so it was always on when I was growing up, and some little girls, enjoy watching the football game with their dad. I went the complete opposite way. I was like, ugh, I would rather eat soup with a fork than watch football, but that's just me. But anyway, there is a huge rivalry between Ohio State and Michigan, and that game is always the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So thankfully, Eric's family is actually going to come out for that so that we can spend a full day together. We looked at doing like a full Thanksgiving dinner on another day with his side of the family, and that wasn't something that they were interested in doing, which is fine. So, it's, for me, it's like, as long as we get to see everyone, as long as the kids, get to see both sides of the family, then that's fine. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't need to be doing something that I would like to do. Like, I will be happy just to have them there and, to chit chat and spend time. So we did play some games. Let's talk about this. If you guys have been watching my videos, you know that I just recently bought this guillotine trimmer. I think it might even still be on sale over at Spellbinders for their Black Friday sale. But I specifically bought this because I will 3D emboss something and then decide that I want to trim it down. And the trimmer that I have, the slide trimmer, will without a doubt rip the 3D embossed paper. So I was like, I need a guillotine to make sure that I can successfully trim things. And as you can see, it works beautifully. It works just as well as I see it work in everybody else's videos. So I was thrilled with that because that was the whole purpose of me buying it. So here, this one just has a single solitary snowflake on it. So I chose to kind of stack it up for it to be a little bit more hefty. So I did 3 together, and then I did the sentiment right through the center, which says "Let It Snow." And then I glued it down. I did weigh it down with my MISTI a little bit to make sure that it was good and adhered. I pulled out some of the gemstones. You guys know that I love Honeybee's gemstones as far as the self-adhesive ones. I haven't found any better. I love them. And so for this one, I actually think they all came from the same one, which is the Winter Wonder. I should get over there during this sale and buy some right now while I'm talking to you guys. Maybe I'll go do that because it's all blues and whites. And you guys know I love blue, so I'm using them all the time. So I use that to kind of accent the sentiments. And then you could have cut the top layer of your snowflakes or all of your snowflakes from glitter cardstock. I did not do that because I'm a cheapskate and I like to save my specialty cardstock. So instead, I went in with my Stardust stickles and added glitter to the ones that I wanted to have glitter. And my recipient will be none the wiser that it wasn't cut out of glitter cardstock because they'll still all be glittery. So here's a quick recap of what the cards look like. I think even though only one of them is 3D embossed, I think they all do kind of convey that texture, which is the point of what I was doing. I'm happy with the way that they came out. I hope that it inspires you guys to give it a try with maybe the different products that you have. And if you are looking for some deals, of course, I always appreciate your support. I will link that below if you'd like to head over to the website. Thank you guys so much for your time. I always appreciate you, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.